dukeofhell.com. Now, that's the title of my book, The Duke of Hell. But my website is dukeofhell.com. Just go to that. Just remember, it's easy to remember. The Duke of Hell is Satan, the devil.
And you have your book trailer on that. And I did notice part of that.
Yes.
I did have a couple minutes. I have to pardon you. What happened here tonight, beginning of the show, people were wondering, I'm getting emails, and they said, hey, Gary, your timing is off tonight. Well, just as I was going on the show, I found out one of my sons is in the hospital in intensive care, and my mind is like in 3 places right now. So I'm trying to stay focused here to our great guest, Terry L. Cook. But I do have some questions coming up after you get done, because I want to ask you questions that some of the questions I'm getting asked through text messages and email.
Well, sure. I'll be happy to address those anytime you like, Barry. This is your show, and I'm just your guest, so you let me know however you want to go. I didn't realize. I thought we had only 1 hour, so I'm very appreciative of that extra half hour. But if I may, sir, with your permission, if I can have the next 10 minutes to kind of, as I said earlier, lay that foundation.
Oh, please do. Please do.
And then it'll kind of make some sense, okay? Because it's a mess out there, Gary. As you know, it's a mess. I mean, who do you believe? And look at what happened in D.C. I call D.C. the District of Criminals. I mean, have you ever seen so much lying in your life? I mean, I've never seen such a pack of liars all in one place, doing it while salaried and wasting $50 million of our money and not going to jail for treason. I've never seen anything like this in my life. So that has to be another sign that we're in an age of deception, because they're all nuts. And I mentioned this in my book, too. It's on my back cover. You know, the people are basically nuts. They've lost their minds. I don't care what kind of degrees they have. So we're in an age where kind of nothing makes sense. Things are unstable. Nothing's really that firmly in place anymore. Things are in transition. We are going, well, the word that most people don't understand, and I never did either for a while, but the word is paradigm shift. Well, I'm not talking about 2 dimes, a pair of dimes. The word paradigm means a dramatic shift from one age to another. So much so that when the shift finally occurs, you won't remember the last one that you've been through all your life. You see? So a paradigm shift is a dramatic change that will revolutionize everybody's lives into a whole new sphere. And I call it a sphere of fear, because it's not going in a good direction. Adolf Hitler was the prototype for the New World Order. He used the same term. He wrote a book titled The New World Order. He was a prototype. He was a Satanist. Now, he's dead, long gone, but other Satanists have replaced him, and they're still moving forward with the New World Order. Now we go back to the dollar bill. The dollar bill says in Latin, annuit coeptus, on the top. Okay, so look at your back of your dollar bill. It's in front of every single person. There isn't a person alive virtually anywhere in the world that doesn't have a U.S. dollar bill, and that's why they put it on the single U.S. dollar bill, so that the truth, I believe God made them put it there, so that the truth would be in your face every time you used a dollar bill in your wallet. It's in your face. You just don't understand it, and then when somebody finally explains it to you, you call them a nut. Well, I'm not a nut. You can call me that, but go ahead and write me a letter and tell me why you think I'm a nut. Prove that I'm not. Prove that I am a nut, and I'll prove that you're wrong, okay? Because there is the evidence. Now, that's so-called, the dollar bill is a so-called U.S. government document, but it isn't, okay? Look up the Federal Reserve in the phone directory. Look it up under the U.S. government. It's not there because it isn't a U.S. government corporation. It's a bankers corporation. Rockefeller, Rothschild. The head of the whole corporate network is Rothschild, his family. He's long gone. He's dead. But he was a Satanist. And he's the one who financed the creation of communism. And that's the reason we have Russia in a communist situation today and how they've communized the whole world, and they call it a new world order. So the Satanists call what they're doing to transition the world into a world government, they call it the new world order. The Freemasons call it the new world order. The Nazis called it the new world order.
Oh, yeah.
Roosevelt in the 30s called it the new world order. George Bush in 1991 said New World Order 200 times, and he belonged to the Skull and Bones Brotherhood of Death cult in New Haven, Connecticut, which I myself personally visited. And he belongs to, he's dead now, but his son, W., joined it in 1967. George H.W. joined it in 1947, the year I was born. And his daddy, Prescott Bush, joined it in 1917. It's a satanic cult at Yale University. It's not a fraternity.
I thought Clinton was involved in it, too.
Well, he went to Yale, along with his sweetheart, who should be locked up, but hasn't been so, has she? Lock up Hillary. Well, how come she isn't in jail? How come Bill isn't in jail? Child trafficking and everything. You name it, Bill's done it.
Well,
okay.
Guess what? I hate to say it, people get mad, but there's other people in politics high up. It's done it and still in office.
Well, that's right. That's why Epstein had to die via suicide in his jail cell, you see, because he had them all for, underage girls and trafficking and everything else. You see, he had to commit suicide. They needed to get rid of him. He had all the names of everybody involved. Okay?
Well, I don't think he committed suicide. I think he was helped.
Well, that's what I mean.
Suicide.
Voluntary suicide.
How about involuntary? How about that? Because suicide.
Well, I was trying to say it politely, Gary, but thanks for bringing out the truth. Yeah, he was killed because he knew too much, and he had Bill and Hillary. Yeah, he had them all. He had all the rich people around the world that were perverts and criminals, but you see, they couldn't let that information out. Anyway, that's a whole different story. We're not going to waste time on that. But the bottom line is, those people belong to the Committee of 300, the satanic cult. Folks, look this up on the internet, the Committee of 300. And that committee is under the Illuminati, which is the top 13. And they're Satanists. Folks, you need to get your head out. There are good people like us, and there are devil worshippers like Hitler. Okay, they may be quiet right now behind the scenes or whatever, but they're coming out of the closet, and it's this thing that's about to happen that they call the New World Order, that they have been installing for 300 years. It's transgenerational, generation after generation after generation. Like you said, Gary, earlier, your grandma, okay, World War I, goes back further than that, okay? So the spirit behind it is Satan, Lucifer, the devil, that we don't really believe exists anymore. So the biggest lie that's ever been told is the devil doesn't exist, but isn't that strange? He's talked about all throughout the Bible, and it began with us personally as the human race in the Garden of Eden. Okay? So here we are, and God's fed up with it all. Yeah, he created Lucifer. Lucifer wanted to take over heaven, and there was a war. You know all that. And then, God created us, and Lucifer was in the garden, and the only thing that the first two people weren't supposed to do was take a bite out of that apple where Satan was as a snake, the serpent. Now, why do you think all the UFO aliens look like serpents? Are you with me, Gary?
Okay. Not to 95%. How's that? Okay.
It's deception, you see. So we're about to go into a mass paradigm shift of total deception. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you will worship the Antichrist, and his name will be Ashtaroth. Look that up in the Bible. He was one of the original demons in the Old Testament. We're running out of time right now. I got 5 minutes to finish laying the foundation, then we'll go into the next phase. So you'll understand that if you get my book, you're going to get a Christian perspective, fictionally written, but biblically based on how the world's going to end. So I suggest that you get a copy of it. Again, I make $3 profit, okay? So don't beat me up over that, folks. I spent about a year putting it all together and about $10,000 in actual cost. So now, back to the dollar bill, Gary. the dollar bill was placed on our, the pyramid was placed on our dollar bill to indicate that we were the last generation. Okay, now again, a generation, biblically speaking, is anywhere from 40 to 120 years max. Take too long to define that, but trust me, I have. So we are the final generation of which the Bible speaks in Matthew 24 and Daniel 12 and elsewhere. Okay, now, what that dollar bill was meant to do is put the truth in everybody's face, but few would bother to look it up. And even if they did, they would laugh at it as if it's some wacko nonsense. But trust me, it isn't. So in about mid-30s, during the height of the worst depression the United States had ever experienced, it was created by the international Rothschild bankers, the Illuminati, the Satanists who control all the money, okay, to prepare the world for the New World Order. That's what it was all about. So Roosevelt put that on a dollar bill, and here's what it says. It says, Annuit Coeptus on the top, Novus Ordo Seclorum on the bottom, and it has a capstone that hasn't been capped yet on the top of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye of Satan, the Antichrist, Lucifer, the head of the New World Order. See? So it says, announcing the birth, Annuit Coeptus in Latin, announcing the birth, Novus Ordo Seclorum on the bottom, announcing the birth of the New World Order under the all-seeing eye of Satan, the Antichrist, for the 7-year tribulation period, ending the world in Armageddon. That's what's about to happen, folks.
Well, we got a lot of things going on, Terry. I mean, think about it. The wars that never seem to end. The economy is, honestly, there is no economy. It's all fake. And it can collapse at any moment. The Federal Reserve, which you're right, is not a federal agency. Okay, no. Now the president can put the person into it, but it's all ran independently. And
in fact, he doesn't really do that. They tell him who will be in power, and he simply stamps the rubber approval over the guy that they tell him they want in power. You see, so he has no control over the Federal Reserve. They make it appear so. You see, like Federal Express. The name Federal Express is not a federal government agency. Fred Smith was Skull and Bones, who started that after the Vietnam War. He was a pilot, okay? He was Skull and Bones along with Bush. And he started Federal Express, but it's not a federal government agency. It's a shipping company.
Yeah, that's all.
The Federal Reserve is a banking corporation. It's not a federal government agency. But the illusion is that it is. The illusion is that the president has control over it. But nothing of the kind.
No, and what we got going now, this virus is hitting the economy worldwide. Let's face it, it's all been propped up with numbers. There's nothing to back it up. And the economy, they're trying to keep the economy going to November. But depending on how this virus turns out here in the next month or two, which I think is going to be a lot worse than people realize, it could tank our economy. And at that point, something is going to happen.
I'll tell you what it is. You're absolutely right.
Hold on to that till we get back. We got a station break, and then we got 5 minutes worth of news. So you got 8 minutes to go get a cup of Java. We'll be back on with Terry L. Cook on Night Dreams Talk Radio. Check our website out at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
Jake the Nagger was a biker, and he drove his motorcycle that fast. He drove a big chop hog with a gang cousin's jacket, and he ran down citizens for laughs. He had an old lady named Petula, packed an automatic 45 gun. They had just come up from California, where they shot 6 cops for fun.
Jake thought it was the best there was. Down the interstate he'd roar, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff. They all called 104, 104. It was late on a Thursday evening, and Jake, he was feeling kinda mean,
'cause he just run out of his favorite drug, you know, the one called amphetamine. So he sauntered up to the 2